Kriya Yoga, the universal technique of liberation. And I'd like to talk a little bit about how it's universal. And therefore it's like all the other techniques of liberation. And why did Master bring this technique now into this world? We talked a little bit about this last night, but more the how of it, I think, today. And then we can do some exercises and experience that. And we do want to have a chance for questions, because we can direct this to whatever areas are of most interest to all of you, us. So if we look at the dilemma of humankind, is universally taught in all time, in all cultures, and in all true religions, that we are a part of all that is, that we are birthless, deathless, changeless, that the soul's never born, it never dies. Then how do we get into this huge mess where we're suffering terribly? We have intense pain. We have limitations that gnaw at us and hold us back. And each one of the masters comes, and I don't know where it started. You can't say who the first master was. I don't know his name, her name. But at some point, mankind, through the suffering, asked for the answer, please. How do we get out of this thing? And so, repeatedly, Krishna, Buddha, and Christ, and the great shamans, and the great priestesses, and the great mystic masters in every path, explained to us over and over again that we're not the limitations, that we're a part of God. We've always been a part of God. Our capacity to love is infinite. We have the Buddha nature. Every culture, every time, phrases it in a different way. But the dilemma is always the same. We're not aware of who we are. And we are transfixed by Maya, by separation. Maya is the measurer. It's what puts limitations on us so that we think we're separate. Separate from one another, separate from universal love, separate from universal peace, separate from our enemies, our brothers and sisters, people in different countries, people in different states, people in different cities. And we continually divide, measure, separate the universal into the individual. I'll tell you a funny story how far this goes. A friend of mine was a baseball fan, and he went to Wrigley Field. If you're not a baseball fan, Wrigley Field is in Chicago, and it's a baseball field. And it is Mecca for the baseball players. It is the most hollowed place. Yankee Stadium doesn't exist anymore, so it's the hollowed American baseball field. And everyone who's there is a Cubs fan. They love the Chicago Cubs. And they think about the Cubs. So my friend went on a pilgrimage. They went on a pilgrimage to Wrigley Field. And it's revered by all baseball disciples revere Wrigley Field. So he went to Wrigley Field, but he was not a Chicago Cub fan. He was from California. So he went there. And during the game he went, the people in the bleachers in left field started yelling, "Right field sucks. Right field sucks." And the people in right field were going, "Left field sucks. Left field sucks." These are people who go to this Mecca every day, but they sit in right field and we sit in left field. And that's how far we can divide it. They're Cubs fans. They're in Wrigley Field, but they're on the other side of Wrigley Field. And that's how it goes. The divisions in Buddhism, the divisions in India, we divide between the Vaishnavites and the Shivites. And I won't tell you stories about how that goes, but it's ugly. It's really ugly. And it's the nature of Maya to keep dividing it. It's the nature of God to keep uniting it. And so the Buddha taught us the Buddha nature. Christ taught us before Abraham was, I am. Krishna in the Gita just describes that he is of mountains, I am the Himalayas, of rivers, I am the Ganges. In California we would say of mountains, I am the Sierra, of rivers, I am the Yuba. If you're from Northern California. But it's that universal consciousness, and it's the direction that we're pushed towards. What holds us from that? It is the samskars, it is the impressions, it is the memories of smallness that we hold in the spine that keep attaching us to a small thing. Yogananda called it the thwarting cross currents of ego. It's the sense that this chant is incorrect. What is this life flowing through my veins? No, it's my life. I, me, and mine. That's the trouble. The solution is, what is this life flowing through my veins? Could it be other than divine? It's a rhetorical question. Of course not. All life, all love, all kindness, all beauty comes from one source, which is the divine. The limitation of Maya attaches us. It pretends to limit us, and it pretends that joy is pleasure, that universal, boundless, limitless joy is pleasure. Pleasure in the senses, pleasure in superiority, pleasure in being from left field, not right field, pleasure from being from South Bay, not North Bay. You know, it's just, it's that constant drive, and you see it everywhere. I lived in my hometown is in Inverness, California. It's 4 miles from Point Reyes, and we used to look down on the people from Point Reyes Station because they were dairy farmers and we were artists. You know, it's just the way it is. But what it is Maya, and it's this delusion, and it comes to us by attaching to the samskars and holding us. So when we leave the world at the end of a life, we've lived in some country, in some family, we've achieved certain things, we've become a famous artist, a great artist, and we have our resume, and we're proud of this. And when we leave the world, the soul, with the little glued-on samskars, exits through the medulla or the spiritual eye. If you exit through the spiritual eye, you're free, so that's not going to work in this problem. If you leave through the medulla, you leave the body with the perfect soul attached with a little resume. Oh, I really like this, you know. Oh, I love it. Oh, I hate that. Ooh, how did they ever do that? Ooh, yes. Ooh, yes. And there's this very conflicted samskar pattern we leave with us. Then we go to the astral world. Master says we are attracted by the resume that we have to those realms that we have concentrated on. So if you come to Kriya retreats and you leave the body, you are going to want to go to an astral realm where there's Kriya retreats, where all of us and our friends and our gurus are together, and that vibration of universal love is strong. We'll go to that. If you live a life of hatred and focus on that and violence, you are attracted to that realm. Master says there are planes where there's constant war. There's astral planes where there's constant war. He also says there's realms where there's constant rain. So I'm going to look into that. So. We leave and we have these samskars. So at some point, we're in the astral world, we work, we live, we grow, we move forward. But those samskars are either eliminated by expansiveness or increased by focus and attachment. We either get smaller or bigger. We either get more loving or more tight, more hating. We focus on one spectrum or the other, and we move in that direction. When we incarnate as human beings, Master says there's a spark in the astral world. The soul races for that opportunity that in toto represents. It may be the opportunity, it may be the place where you live, it may be the family, the artistic environment, the religious environment, the business environment, whatever. We come with those samskars. And the little soul with the samskars, the spiritual chakras, take the male and the female cells. And if you, all those being biologists now know that the little cell unites and the little tail starts to grow in the zygote. And that's the spine. That becomes the spinal cord. And that is immediately populated by those 6, 7 chakras. And the magnetism of that lets the body build, and you develop that gene pattern and that proclivity towards heart disease, towards brilliance in music, towards all these things come from our own making. You know, the samskars. We pick up our resume right where we left it in the last world, and here we are. So religion, true religion, is the process of giving us the opportunity to dissolve the samskars that are negative, worldly, downward pulling, and allow the upward movement of energy in the spine. All religious practice, in every religion, in every time, is always given by a master to move the energy of that culture upward. Judaism. Don't lie, don't steal, don't kill, don't covet your neighbor's wife. A little editorial comment. I was a little Catholic boy, and they told us we shouldn't covet our neighbor's wife. I didn't know what covet meant, and I don't know, why would you be interested in your neighbor's wife? They never explained that. They just went on. Don't covet your neighbor's wife. Okay. What are you talking about? I'm 9 years old. I don't know my neighbor's wife. Who's that? Anyway, long story short. But we have these samskars. So what does the Buddha teach? He says, the Fourfold Path. This is a way to center yourself. Watch out for attachments. Why? Because the attachments are the energy of the samskar going out and limiting. The yogis, practice the yamas and the niyamas. Don't lie. Why? Because truth is the salvation. So if you attach yourself to lies, if you get into lies, you're going to occlude the truth. You're not going to be one with the truth. What is this life flowing through my veins? The truth is there all the time. Don't steal. Why? Because stealing affirms that, gee, I don't have everything I need, I'm going to take her iPad. You know, it's something outside of myself. But the reality of it is, the self is completely fulfilled. It's completely satisfying. So, you see in every religion, these guidelines that are then misinterpreted by people who don't understand why there was a guideline, and then they make a rule out of it, and then you have ISIS and these ridiculous expressions of what true Islam was supposed to be. No, you can't do this, you can't listen to music. Why can't you listen to music? Music is bad. Well, some music is bad, and some music is good. But we get into the form. Again, ossifying, bringing the energy down. The masters come and say, no, take the energy up. into spirit, into expansion. See that every desire that we have is a thinly veiled or deeply veiled desire for God. Why do people want to be the President of the United States? Because they think they'll have power. Why do they want power? Because God is power, infinite power, Shakti. But it's not being President of the United States that gives you Shakti. It's being the power of God flowing through you, and it's being an instrument for that. Why do people want love? Why do they think they want different forms of love? Because they want divine love. And so Master came with Kriya Yoga because it's a universal technique of liberation, because it works not with the expressions of religion, but with the spine and those samskars. And so the teachings that he brought of energization, I am energy. Why do we do this exercise? Because if we attach to the body, and we are attached to the body, because everyone has told us, you are this body, and build up your muscles, and man, are you good looking. This consciousness builds that, yeah, I am this body, and I'm strong, I can do this, I'm the first string quarterback, I'm the cover of Vogue magazine, I'm whatever I am, we think we are. But it distracts us from the reality of, in thy love I am one, I am home. And Kriya Yoga works directly with the spine, and we do the energization exercises to realize that it's the energy. I'm drawing in energy. It's energy that's driving us, not this amount of protein and this amount of carbohydrates and this digestive process and this muscle mass, and which is all true on its level of expression of a more universal truth. Kriya Yoga is a universal truth because it seeks us to bring to the source of the manifestations so that we can be a better player, so that we can be an instrument to let that flow through. And then you can be a bodybuilder of renown. Paramahansa Yogananda helped Charles Atlas be the Mr. Universe. He taught him these universal exercises. They were kind of based on energization, but you would be pushing your muscles against each other, visualizing strength and energy flowing through your energy. He taught Charles Atlas to visualize yourself strong and well. You are well, you are strong, you are Mr. Universe, which he was. And I'm sure you could do that with beauty queens and actresses and singers and everything, because if we see it as a flow of energy, then we have control of it. Learn to become aware of the energy, and then we control it. Who controls it? God controls it, but you're controlling it. You must be part of God. You're drawing in energy. You're sending energy to body parts. This is the divine healing technique. This is the energization exercises. Master would often say, there's in a gram of your flesh, there's more energy than it takes to run the city of Chicago for 2 days. Well, it's true. Don't forget, though, he made that statement before nuclear energy was understood, potential energy, quantum physics, and all that. It wasn't even understood then, but Master understood it. You are energy. You're a body of energy. Energization helps us in that way. Hong Sa, I am spirit. Hong Sa, I am he. You're watching the breath, and you're repeating a mantra. The mantra has the vibration. I am he. It breaks that hypnosis. I am Ananta. I am 63 years old. I weigh 240 pounds. I am this body. I have a tired knee. I have, I. Who's that? That's just a shadow. It's a movie role. I'm playing that movie role, but I can play other movie roles. I can be something else. Hong Sa, I'm spirit. Reminding yourself over and over with each breath, I am spirit. And touching that reality. Buddhists could say, I am the Buddha. Christians could say, I am one with Christ. I am Christ. I am He. This is another technique. Third technique, Om technique. Om technique is the Pentecost. Om technique is the Holy Spirit. Om technique is repeating your real name. Om. Akar, Ukar, Makar. Creation, preservation, dissolution. A-U-M. Om is the cycle of the Divine Mother that in the Bible is the differentiation in the creation, in the book of Genesis. It's the Comforter. Christ promised to send the Comforter, the Holy Spirit. So on Pentecost, the disciples are there. Was Mary there too? She must be there. She's waiting. I'll send the Comforter. And what did they see? A flame above the head, the dove of peace, the two wings of the dove, and the tail of the dove, a five-pointed white star. They saw the star. They heard the rushing wind of the sixth center, and they felt the presence of God. That's the Om technique. Master said, listen to the Om. It's the voice of God. You'll hear that Om, and it will, as it says in the Bible, bring all things to your memory. What do we want to remember? That we're not the body, that we're not the limitations, that we're not this resume of all these wonderful things we've done in our life, or, to some of us, we hypnotize ourselves with the terrible things we've done in our lives. Just as unreal, but equally hypnotizing. Oh, but I have this terrible shortcoming. I did this terrible thing in 1951. That's not really happening. The reality of it is you're the infinite spirit. You've always been the infinite spirit. You've always had the Buddha nature. You've always been one with the Christ. Before Abraham was, I am. We can make that statement. Before Abraham was, I am. Kriya, the formal pranayama, the initiation, is a current that runs through the samskar and burns them. It dissolves them. It loosens them. Does every religion have that? Yes. Catholics say the rosary. They repeat over and over again. Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners. Lift my consciousness. The Buddhists have the Buddha meditation. Hindus have innumerable ceremonies. But there really is only one ceremony. It's uniting with that aspect. Hindus took it in a different way. Everything is God, therefore everything is a deity. Everything is divine. Everything is conscious. And so we see the wind as Vayu. We see Ganesha as the son of Shiva and Parvati. We see Shiva as that aspect of destruction. We see Vishnu as the preserver of the universe. We see Brahma as the creator. But it's the same as the Christians. Paramahansa Yogananda said something interesting. Well, he said a lot of interesting things. But one thing he said was, since we're at the Mary and Joseph Center, he said that the Catholic teaching that we approach Christ through his mother Mary is true. In that we approach the Christ consciousness through the Om, which is his mother. The Om brings forth, gives birth to the Christ consciousness. He said that's a universal true teaching. In every religion, you have that. Master sort of decoded everything, if you can, with Kriya. Said this is really what's happening. In the spine, the energy from the base of the spine, where it is contracted and small, and we're limited, lifts to the point between the eyebrows to spirit. Earth at the first chakra, water at the second chakra, fire at the third chakra. More rarefied as we go up to the point between the eyebrows. Kriya is a pranayama by which we take the energy and we burn through those samskars. We loosen the hold that it has. Naturally, our lifestyle has to reinforce that. And so we have a Kriya retreat. And we spend a few days recognizing that everything comes from God. But then we go home, we go back to our jobs, and we have to personalize that universal truth. These children were given to me by God to caretake for. I have to raise them. But they are not my children. They are the children of the Divine Mother. They are free souls. They are playing the part of my children. This company is my creation, but this company is an expression of some positive endeavor in business, some positive endeavor to make money, which is energy, so that I can support my family, so that I can build the work, so that I can build Master's work, so I can share the teaching, so I can increase hygiene, add art and beauty to the world, whatever it is. We need to live in that consciousness, and we need to keep dissolving those desires and attachments which limit us. We need to see through them. We're going to do a little practice, Om in the chakras, which is similar to Kriya in a sense. But we have to keep dissolving the power of that samskar, which is the only thing holding us from limitless, infinite love. The process of practicing Kriya is effective because Master said in a normal year of right living, so you meditate, you go to the Ananda Center, you tithe, you brush your teeth, you do your laundry, you change your oil. In a whole year of that, you make a certain amount of spiritual progress. And at the end of that year, you're more aware that God is everything. That all love that you feel is love of God for you. That all love that you feel for others is love of God flowing through you. That these plants are conscious plants. That they are seeking water and sunshine and draw from the soil. And they like to give beauty and shade. And they take the carbon dioxide out of the air and give us oxygen. And this is an expression of God. Well, in a year of right living, we make a certain amount of progress. Paramahansa Yogananda said, with each Kriya breath is equal to 1 year of right living. That's good. That's really good. This is going way too slow. Okay, I'm doing good. Change my oil, brush my teeth, flags. But it's hard to get to God that way. And Master said you can do it. He actually said that the 12 signs of the zodiac that we go through in a year are in the 6 chakras. There's 12 positive and negative in each one of the chakras. By taking the Kriya current through those 6 chakras, we're going through the 12 signs of the zodiac with each Kriya breath. You get to do 14 Kriya breaths when you're first initiated, 108 every practice, times 365 days a year, times 2 times a day, times 40 years. I calculated somewhere around 13,000 or 40,000 Kriyas or something I've done, So you're moving forward. And what happens is that idea that you're separate starts to dissolve. You see it in Kriyananda, you see it in Yogananda, you see it in the Buddha, you see it in Mother Teresa. They don't have an ego. Mother Teresa was never walking around going, I found the Sisters of Charity. It's pretty cool, huh? No, Christ found the Sisters of Charity. Kriyananda never even thought of Ananda as an accomplishment. He didn't think of Kriyananda as a person anymore. Kriyananda towards the end said, I feel that Swami Kriyananda is an event for which I'm responsible. That's it. It's kind of a movie. Oh, I like that movie. Do you like that one? Oh, that's a good movie. Oh, Kriyananda, he was born in Romania, and then he met Master, and then he found Ananda, and then he left. Oh, that was a good movie. Well, your perspective becomes that. But where does that leave you? With no love? It leaves you with all the love of the universe. It leaves you as part of the Buddha. You're the Buddha. Remember that when they were building the lake shrine Master said, they were moving a Buddha statue, and they said, where do you want the Buddha, Master? And Master was sitting, he said, the Buddha prefers to sit. He was the Buddha. You're the Buddha. You're Krishna. You're Krishna, yeah. You're Krishna. In all the aspects of Krishna's life. The little cute Gopal. Oh, so cute. Oh, you're so cute. And then he's a warrior. Oh, this is a fierce warrior. And then he gives initiation to the Pandavas. And he gives the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. You're all that. And that is what we awaken to when we remove those samskars. Kriya Yoga works directly with the samskars. The veil of separation naturally evaporates. When you start on the spiritual, well, I'm going to speak for myself. When I started on the spiritual path, I thought, I have to do all these things. I have to be good and follow these rules and say prayer, bless your food, and do yoga and meditate and chant and do all this stuff. That is what going to make you disappear. Then eventually you realize that what happens is, as the samskars disappear, that's what you do naturally. You just are loving and kind, and you feel joy, and you recognize joy, and everyone you meet is your brother and sister, not in an intellectual sense, in a real sense. You feel their love for God, their beauty. You see the beauty in everything. And that's the state of the Master. Paramahansa Yogananda driving down the Pacific Coast Highway. What's he? He's looking, he's saying, oh, the ocean. It reminds me of God. Oh, look at this beautiful hillside. Look at these beautiful flowers. Look at these trees. Oh, Rajasi rides with them. He just strides along. On some level, he knew we'd be here on this day, years after he was gone, because he was here. Here he is. He's right with us. He's going to be at the Kriya. It's a timelessness, and it's the limits to your love, the limits to beauty are erased by the practice of Kriya and the practice of Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, all religions. The shamans teach you can always find it if you tune into the great ones. You can find it. It's cloaked pretty heavily sometimes because of the culture and the time. We're into a Para Yuga, but we're looking back at the ancestors. We're in the Kali Yuga. Some of the expressions of that divine truth were difficult to find. But as we were talking last night, Kriya Yoga is for now. It's universal. And it gives us the keys to remove that veil so that every moment of our lives becomes an opportunity for greater self-realization. We move towards the realization that everything is God. Everyone is God. That's the story of the Leela. Remember Krishna is dancing with all the girls, and Radha's thinking, he's dancing with me. I'm kind of special to him, I mean, he's Krishna. He's the coolest of the cool, but kind of likes me more. But every girl in the circle, all the gopis were dancing with Krishna. He danced with all of them at the same time. And that's the reality of the world. It's a mystic reality. It's difficult to perceive. It's very difficult to perceive if you hold on to, I am this person. I am a Republican. I do not like Democrats. I hate Democrats. Only Republicans are good. And you just lock yourself into whatever it is. And the more you hold on to it, the Maya is so tricky because it seems like it feels good. And that's why people do it. It's like alcohol or drugs. When you take alcohol, at first, there's a little bit of numbness and a little bit of the pain goes down, and that kind of feels good. Master called it counterfeit samadhi. Yeah. If you're not an alcoholic, it's like, you're joking me, this is good. Because if you drink alcohol, there's another thing called a hangover. That's not good. So that's the way Maya works. Is it? The Master said, behind every a rose bush of pleasure, there's a rattlesnake of pain. Because the senses, they delude you. Oh, that would feel good. Oh, this is fun. But it's small fun. And it's Master used to argue with Divine Mother about this setup in this universe, and with good reason, I think. But it's the way it is. We've come to the point on our spiritual journey where we realize, no, that is pleasure for 5 minutes and then pain. Joy is ever new. It doesn't get old. Peace is ever new. Tranquil, unbroken thrill, eternally living, ever new peace. That's Samadhi. That's what we're going. So that's the process of Kriya Yoga. And it can be practiced by practitioners of any religion. Lahiri had disciples that were Muslim and Hindu, and I think Christian too. Because within the spine, there is no need for outer belief or cultural reality. It's not important what religion or caste or race or time, on and on. They're all outside. What is this life flowing through my veins? Could it be other than divine? No, it couldn't be. It has to be in that process. And so Kriya is the formal practice, and then that extends naturally outward towards the way that we live, the music that we listen to, the food that we eat, the way that we serve, the way our companies are run, the way we treat our employees, the way we treat our children, the type of medical care we choose, the attitudes that we have. I have a dear, dear friend in Ananda, Nayaswami Brinde, and she just found out that she has what is probably terminal lung cancer. And she just found out this week. Now, for most people, that's not good news. But her attitude was, oh, Master's given me this. This must be coming from Master. And since there's not much the doctors can do, it must be time to go. Well, what a wonderful life I've had. I'm going to try and die consciously and try and leave the body. And if it's Master's will, that there's a healing, that's possible. We all know the story about Master dying of cholera and looking up at the picture of Lahiri Mahashaya, bowing mentally at his mother's request, being saved, living a long, healthy life. That's a possibility. We're not defeatists. But at the same time, could it be other than divine? No, nothing could be other than divine if we keep looking for that light shining behind everything. And that's the path of Kriya Yoga. As we started Ananda, built Ananda, there was, we have to put out a lot of energy. But also, it's yours, Master. You do it. What is going to happen to Ananda Los Angeles? It's yours, Master. Can we get the place in 29 Palms? Yeah. No. Yeah. No. Whatever you want. This is the incredible beauty of just relaxing with the divine. It's why when you sit to meditate, you always relax first. Let go. Don't bring in your ego and your attachment. I want it to be this way. I want to have a vision of Krishna right now. It's divine will, yes. If Krishna wants to be in the formless state, yes. But if we take the energy of our heart, which is the fourth center, and lift it up to the sixth center, in the center of that Sushumna, the deep spine, our perspective entirely changes. And we see everything from that center. And then the Maya, what happens is the Maya is seen for what it is. You realize you're watching a movie. And Paramahansa Yogananda used to take people to the movies. Sometimes when they get really engrossed to the movie, they point up to the projector and say, look, it's all just coming from that beam of light. all this drama, and you're the president of the United States. Oh, you've just been fired. You're in bankruptcy. Oh, you just invented the computer, whatever it is. It's all just a screen of duality. What is this life flowing through my veins? Could it be other than divine? No, it can't be. So Kriya Yoga is that practice of going to the spine, dissolving those samskars, loosening them, relaxing them, so that the light of God, that is your light, is flowing through you. The power of God, love of God, peace of God, joy of God, sound of God, light of God is flowing through you. That is your reality. And that is the state of the Master. And that is your state. One important thing that Master told us is every day, read the poem Samadhi, or repeat it, and visualize yourself in that state. Be in Samadhi every day. Vanish the veils of light and shade. Just be limitless. And then, when you're done with your meditation, you can pick up your drama and your incredible episode of whatever it is. But you always have that little sense of, interesting little movie starring me. I'll tell you one quick story. Maria's going to talk about some other things, but when we were going to make the movie, The Answer, which is, it's a movie about the life of Swami Kriyananda as a disciple, and I was with Swami Kriyananda, and he turned to a little group of us and said, "Boy, they're going to have to get somebody really handsome to play my part."
You'll all remember, of course, the chapter in autobiography, The Resurrection of Sri Peshwa, and a wonderful chapter, of course, they all are. And Peshwa, Yogananda has had this vision of Krishna and heralding some incredible event to come, and sure enough, Peshwa appears before Yogananda, and a very beautiful meeting described very sweetly in Autobiography of a Yogi. And Yogananda asks him, here he is materialized in a flesh body again and resurrected, and Yogananda asks him to tell him about the Astral World. And Yukteswar goes into this very highly detailed, just fantastic, description of the other realities, the astral and the causal as well. And then at the very end of that chapter, Yukteswar promises that if and whenever Yogananda enters into the highest state, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, that he will see again Yukteswar in this flesh body and behold him and be with him. And then he goes on to say to Yogananda, tell everybody about this. And this reality that the world, as Ananda described, is not what it seems. Tell people this, let them know this is not it. Matter is not the only reality. It's energy, it's consciousness. And those words, they kind of give you goosebumps, Yukteswar just saying, tell everybody. And that was the whole of Yogananda's life, was sharing these truths and trying to break this miasma that's, in front of our eyes, and this just hypnotic influence that everything is matter. We're matter, and you're born and you die, and end of story kind of thing. And I was recalling a dream I had once a long time ago, and in the dream I was conscious that I had died. I had left the physical plane, and I was now in the astral realm. And I felt this sensation of hunger. And I helped myself to whatever was there. I don't know what it was. I started to eat or nibble on something, and all of a sudden, it was just like lead weight. It was like it couldn't go in the body. It just wasn't working, and I had this feeling of just ugh. And in the dream, I said to myself, "What are you doing? This is the astral astral realm. We all live on energy, cosmic vibration. And it was insightful, you know. We just get into that hypnosis of matter. And that's how we relate, and that's how we experience, and that's what it is. But there's this whole other reality, and it's not like the astral world is this heaven and let's all go there and live in heaven happily ever after thing. It's a consciousness, it's a refinement of consciousness. And as we pursue that, as we experience that, we come closer and closer to that state which ultimately merges with God, becomes again the one that we always were, that we came from. And so that's what, you know, when we talk about the astral world, and here I remember Swamiji saying, I mean, you read all this, you know, in the resurrection of Sri Peshwa, it sounds like it's great and fun and all of this. And Swamiji said this woman, devotee, Kriya devotee of many, many years, she passed away probably 15 years ago, left this plane, and but she had asked Swamiji to come and see her if he could, you know, just one last time. She wasn't able to get up and make that trip, and he did, and she asked him to describe the astral realm, and he described it for her. And by nature, on this plane, her kind of not her profession but her interest, she was a mother, and you know, spent all of her time, you know, raising her children, and but loved to dabble in the arts and design and create and this kind of thing, and a beautiful designer. And so he was describing all this to her, and he said, you know, you're going to love this. You're going to love it, because creativity just, you know, you think this is great, it's just going to open up wide, you know, beyond matter and energy and light and color. And our dear friend Bella, who is another aside, I'll go back to the other, but who also left this plane some years ago, and she was an artist and a designer, fantastic designer, and before she was going, I mean, she had so much, a beautiful sense of humor, and she just said, I just know there's a whole nother palette you know, that's going to be available to me. You know, it's so limiting on this realm, the color. And but anyway, so Swamiji visited this woman, and he's telling her and describing to her all of this, and then he said, but don't stay there. Don't stay there. You know, don't get caught. You know, because all of these realms, however beautifully they're described, it's nothing like that state of union with the divine. And that's what Yukteswar is saying, that excites us about, and what Yogananda's life and then teachings excite us about, is these subtler, higher realms of consciousness. And when we access them, there's a real sense of wholeness, of completeness that emerges, that we become sensitive to. Swamiji said we need to learn to breathe in the spine. And I was listening to that recently in one of his Kriya talks, and it just excited me, because again, it was just this inroad to another realm. We just think of the breath and the body and the respiratory and the heart mechanism, and you know, just the whole deal. But breathe in the spine. That's what is happening in the astral realm, at least causal. It's just a thought of breath. But recently I was thinking about the Hong Sa technique, and I was practicing Hong Sa, and I thought, you know, just this bell went off. And all of a sudden, you know, we're taught to observe and watch the breath. And it wasn't the breath, it was the currents of energy. It was the astral experience. And I know that perhaps that sounds very obvious to you, and it sounds very obvious to me on a certain level. But when we have these subtler experiences of foundation truths and these foundation techniques, well, and they're not just foundation, but we realize Master's words anew, you know, ever new, the spiritual path, spiritual practice, spiritual unfoldment, it's ever new. And it's important to keep remembering it. It's why retreats like this that focus on something like Kriya is so important, because it's the nature of this world, it's the nature of matter to just get locked in. And it just becomes rote, or we think we've understood it all. We haven't understood anything. I haven't understood anything. You know, it's just, there is so much. Yogananda went into states of samadhi, of ecstasy, practicing Hong Sa. And sometimes we get, you know, we complain about the year of preparation for Kriya, you know. What are we thinking? Is the other boring? Is the other not working? Did we not do our homework? You know, do we think the next thing's going to be any better? It's just how it works on this realm. It's human nature. But what the spiritual path does for us is it reveals that it's, you know, it's open-ended. You know, at any point in the way, in any process, any of the techniques, any point in the process of our spiritual development, that can be the exit point. I mean, that could be, you know, Yogananda, he said he sat down, he was after himself. He was thinking, you know, even as a young boy, he meditated for long periods of time, you know, up to 7 hours, you know, he'd be practicing something like just the Hong Sa technique, and he'd go into these states of ecstasy. But on a relative scale, he said, you know, he was trying to think in terms of ever doing more until we reached that point of oneness with the divine. And he was telling himself, I need to have a long meditation. I need to have a longer meditation. It's already way beyond, you know, what we're doing. But for him, you know, it was, I need to have a longer meditation. And one day he just got disgusted with himself because he kept talking about it, but he hadn't done it. And he said, well, what about today? What about this morning? And so he charged up to his attic room there in Calcutta, his home, in Garpar Road, and that was his meditation room, and he charged up there and started to meditate and did his Kriyas and finished his Kriyas. And then he said this memory emerged within him after doing his Kriya, after doing his meditation practice, and it was of that state of oneness with the divine. And it was very real, and he went in to that experience. He went in, he merged with God. And 48 hours went by before he remembered, oh, right, I've got this other thing I'm doing on, you know, on this plane that I need to attend to. And then he came out of that. But it's, you know, again, those stories are priceless, because if we internalize them and take them deep, then they help us to not get trapped into this thought of, we've got it. We've understood it. We're done. You know, someone was saying to me the other day in a very serious context and really of a lot of concern, but you know, I feel like I'm done here. No, you're not done. You know, God decides when we're done. God decides when we're going to have that divine experience, when we're going to go into that, you know, higher state of being and consciousness. Our responsibility, our project, is to try to just stay attuned to the consciousness of the Master as deeply as we can, and to breathe life into our practices, to not let it get stagnant, to not let it get rote, to not think that this just isn't working, this can't be for me, or, you know, I'm not good enough, or whatever it is that, you know, our mind so oftentimes wants to walk down that road. So to just keep breathing life, breathing energy into it. Master said, through the practice of Kriya, and let me just say here, whatever your practice is, if you don't have Kriya yet, if you don't know if you're going to take Kriya initiation at some point, whatever your meditation practice is, so through our spiritual practice, he said Kriya, but through our spiritual practice, we should hope to realize the state of Jivan Mukta in this life. And that's a word that means freed while living. So freed of all that past karma that Ananta was talking about. You know, we may have, free of generating new karma. We're not generating new karma, we're free. We still have that past karma that Ananta was talking about that needs to be played out in one way or another, perhaps on the material plane, perhaps in meditation that it needs to go through. So free while living, not generating new karma. And that we should hope to be able to achieve that state in this life. And then he said, if you are practicing Kriya, if you're doing your spiritual practice, you can attain that. You can. So it's, whatever our practice is, if we're following a true path, if we're serious about our spiritual life, we're serious about our practices, we're, doing them, we should be able to realize that. And that's a real promise that our Guru is offering to us, is showing to us. It's a possibility. It's how Master sees us. It's how our Kriya Masters view us as souls living on this plane, working out our karma, sure, but also with that potential inside of us to realize inner freedom in this life. And that is a divine grace. It's why Kriya is given as initiation. Because through that attunement with the Guru, this is possible. So not meditation technique, not Kriya in and of itself, but meditation, practice, Kriya in attunement with the Guru. That's really the magic amulet, the Master spoke of in the autobiography, that little Chintamani, the magic amulet. I had I'll just say one more thing. I had a dream earlier this year, and I was in a room, very lit, very brilliant light. It was high in the mountains. It was a cave room. And there were a lot of other people there. And it was a wonderful place to be, that I acknowledge. There were no specifics. I don't really know who was there. And there was this thought, I have to leave now. And I was very reluctant to do that. But it was kind of a given. It was, and it was mine to do. I don't know what the reasons were, but I left. And the next image was me in this room, a little room in a house, nothing there, very austere. And I was hurriedly packing things up to, straighten things around, sorting things out, packing them, whatever. Not to take, but just finishing up things. And the idea was, I have to go right now. I have to go. There's just a little window of time. I've got to get back. And a friend came in and was chiding me for not taking anything with me. It was a long journey. It was an arduous journey. It was a dangerous journey. And I wasn't taking anything. I wasn't taking food. I wasn't taking belongings, nothing. And I was just kind of like, don't worry about it. I've got to go now. And then there was this little thing on the floor, on the bed, whatever. It was just a little metal, like a medallion. It was very shiny. And it was yellow and blue and probably something like the spiritual eye. And I don't remember if there was a specific image. But I said, that is what I'm taking with me. And it represented the Guru for me. It was this opaque, just this little amulet. And I headed off, and it was a very, it was a steep mountain. It was dangerous. It was slippery. It was, the one image was of this that comes to mind right now is just, those of you who've been in the village, Ananda clay, when it gets wet. It's very slippery. It's very messy. And you can't walk on it. You slip. And in the early days, all of our yellows and whites were this shade of muddy brown. They were like pure white for a couple hours, and then it was all over, and you could never get it out. you know, I mean, it was used by the local Indians as a dye, you know. So, but it was that kind of slope, just that gooey, slimy, wet clay thing. And, but that's it, that little medallion, the guru, you know, that's the guru and Kriya, that's really that's what's going to take us forward from this point in time.